Right now, our test is pretty simple. It's doing a very assertion that we are getting an is okay back, but we're not really returning any data because our controller is fairly set on happy path, so it will return back a 200 status no matter what. So I can prove to you that we don't have anything coming back here. What I can do is say here's and expect. I say content type. It's media type application JSON. So this is saying on the response we are expecting to get back application JSON as a content type. So let's go ahead and run that now. And what I expect to see is an exception. You can see that the test failed. And if I resize this, when MockMVC throws an exception, you can see that we get the mock servlet request. So we can see here that we're going against the URL that we're going through with that we accept application JSON, and we can see what was run. So the controller and the method of the controller. Some additional information here, but more of the response or more interest is we are getting a status of 200, but you can see here we're not getting anything back. So that content type is not set. So what we can do here, let me minimize this, is what we want to do is set up Mockito to return back data. Now we could write the data again, but we do have our implementation. So we do beer service impl, intentionally naming that. We have the beer service, that's going to be the implementation of the bean, but we do want to do the impl. And we could use a before method, but we don't have anything being initialized there. So we can just say new, and if we start modifying the data in that between tests, then we'd want to reinitialize it for each one. But for right now, this is going to be perfectly fine. And what we can do is say test beer equals, we'll go to the beer service, and we'll just do list beers because we know that's getting initialized to 3. We'll just grab the first one that's being initialized. Now what we can do is tell Mockito to return that, and we can use a given when then type context for Mockito. We can say given beer service, get beer by ID, any UID, any class. You can see here that we do have to come in and handle some of the static imports. So here you don't want to do the assumptions, you do want to do the given through Mockito. So assert J is different. We definitely want to be using this static import for BDD Mockito. And now this is a matcher. We can import that fairly painlessly. Now we can say we'll return that test beer object. So what we're telling Mockito here, given the beer service get by ID, any UID being passed in, it's going to return back that test beer object. So that's going to be what is being returned. So again, we're reusing the code from the service implementation that we previously wrote, and we're going to return back that beer. And let's double check. Now if we run it, now we'll see that the test does return back to green because we are getting value back. And we can see this here, we are getting a complaint from transaction. That's okay. That's because we don't have a database, but the Spring context is looking for it at one point because we are running a little unusual not having that, but that is perfectly fine. But our test is passing. Now, just to demonstrate this, there's a UTF-8 that's been deprecated. It was actually used to be the Spring Boot standard for a little bit. And now if I run this again, we'll get a failure, but I want to examine that output. Now we can see here, we're getting back a 200, and we can see that we actually have a JSON body being returned. So very important. So previously, without Mockito, we're getting a null body and a null content type. Here we are actually getting the body as expected and a content type of application JSON. So let's go ahead and minimize this. If I return this back to application JSON, this will be working normally again. So what I did in this video here is I took that beer service implementation that we wrote. Remember, we're doing the hash map implementation of that where we initialized it with some beers. I'm asking it for the first beer from the list on line 36. That is where I'm configuring Mockito to go ahead and return back that test beer object. So I get the test beer object from the service implementation and then tell Mockito to return it. And then when I exercise the API through MockMVC, requesting that actually does come back and work properly now. We are actually getting a beer object returned back from our mock MVC controller.